and meiosis. Adeno from the endometrium and meiosis when muscular. Okay, so it means when presence of the endometrium and the myometrium. Adeno endometrium. So simply we can define that presence of endometrium in myometrium. So so this one is the uterus. Okay, inner wall of the uterus is the endometrium, and middle layer of the uterus is the myometrium. So this blue color is the myometrium or the muscular layer. So this one is the myometrium. Clear? So when endometrium is present outside the uterine cavity, keep in mind, when endometrium, this one is the endometrium. So when this endometrium is present outside the uterine cavity, condition is called endometriosis. When endometrium is present outside the uterine cavity, condition is called endometriosis. But when this endometrium is going inside the myometrium, this is the endometrium, blue, green color, it is going inside the myometrium, muscular layer of the. So this one is the presence of endometrium into the myometrium. So this is known as adenomyosis. Presence of endometrium outside the uterine cavity is known as endometriosis. Presence of endometrium outside the uterine cavity is known as endometriosis. Presence of endometrium in myometrium is known as adenomyosis. It means when endometrium is going to embed inside the myometrium, that is known as adenomyosis. Endometrium inside the myometrium. So what are the risk factors for the adenomyosis? First one is the age. So age is a reproductive age group. It happens into the reproductive age group. So what is the reproductive age group? 15 to 49 years. So adenomyosis happens in the reproductive age group, and it is also most common in the white race. So mostly affected are the white race. So white race are mostly affected. And those people who have the high social status, high social status, are the high social class. And other risk factor is the D and C. When the multiple D and C and happened, so which one? Age, race, white race, and the high social status, and other in as the D and C. Dilatation and the curettage. Okay, why? Because there are the multiple dilatations and curettage. With the help of the curette, you can shed off all the endometrium, but you can make a scar in the myometrium. Then these glandular tissues can go inside the myometrium. Next one. Endometrial hypoplasia. Which one? Endometrial hypoplasia. Other risk factor is the endometrial hypoplasia and also multiparity. Multiparity. multiple pregnancies. Okay, so what are the multiple pregnancy? How this, when there is a multiple pregnancies, during the pregnancy, size of the uterine cavity will increase. After the pregnancy, size of the uterine cavity will decrease. So this decrease and increase multiple time, these muscles, myometrial muscles are going to relax and contract. When these muscles are going to relax and contract, so due to this relaxation and contraction, some of the endometrial or glandular tissues can go inside the myometrium because myometrial muscles will become weaker. Due to multiple pregnancies, these myometrial tissues, myometrium are the muscular layer of the uterus, contracted and relaxes. So they will become weaker. Due to this weakness of the myometrium, so endometrial tissues or endometrial glands can go inside the myometrium. So what are the clinical features or clinical presentations of the adenomyosis? So clinically, patient will present with the pelvic pain. Patient will present with pelvic pain, discomfort, abnormal menstrual bleeding, abnormal menses. Why? Because first of all, the endometrium will shed off, bleeding will happen. Still, endometrium is inside the myometrium, that will shed off and also occurs bleeding. So that is the abnormal menses or abnormal menstrual bleeding. Clear? So patient will present with the pelvic pain, discomfort, pelvic discomfort, and also abnormal menstrual bleeding or menses. How will you examine? Examination, first examination is the pervaginal exam. When you want to check pervaginally, PV, pervaginal examination, in the pervaginal examination, you will find that uterus is bulky. Uterus is bulky uterus. Why? Because inside the myometrium there is an endometrium. So that will make the uterus bulky, baggy, boggy. Okay. So bulky uterus. So patient will present with the pelvic pain, discomfort, abnormal menstrual bleeding with bulky uterus. And finally, after the examination, you want to investigate. What is the investigation? Investigation is pelvic ultrasound. You will do the pelvic USG, pelvic ultrasound. In the pelvic ultrasound, what will you feel? You will feel Swiss cheese appearance. Swiss cheese appearance. What is the Swiss cheese appearance? Actually, look at here. Endometrium is inside the myometrium. So this endometrium will shed off in the form of bleeding, in the form of menstrual bleeding. But this endometrium will remain, it will not shed off properly. So what will happen? Blood will accumulate here. Okay, and that blood will become old, dark brown. What is the color of the blood? Accumulated blood that will accumulate into the myometrium, it will not shed off properly. So it will become old, dark brown blood. This old, dark brown blood will give the appearance that is the Swiss cheese appearance. What is that? Swiss cheese appearance. So you can keep in mind when the question is that on the pelvic ultrasound you feel there's a Swiss cheese appearance, it means that is the case of the adenomyosis. And what is the treatment? Treatment is very simple. Just only surgery. And that surgery is removal of the uterus. So that is the hysterectomy. Otomy. Hysterectomy. Hysterectomy means uterus, otomy means removal. Hysterectomy, otomy means opening open, and ectomy mean ectomy, ECT, HYSTETREC. Okay, you have to write clear. Hysterectomy. Ectomy mean removal, and hystero mean uterus. No. After they removing the uterus, how the pregnancy is possible? Okay, so you have to remove the uterus, and that is the hysterectomy. When the uterus has been removed, pregnancy is not possible. Clear? So no one proper treatment, just treatment is the no medical treatment, surgical treatment. You have to remove the uterus, and that process of the removing the uterus is the hysterectomy. Clear? So next one topic of today's discussion is the fibroid. Adenomyosis, endometriosis, we have completed. Let's move on to the other benign condition, that is the fibroid. Fibroid. Fibroid, fibroid. So it is the commonest pelvic tumor. Fibroid is the very common. So we call it commonest pelvic tumor. Commonest pelvic tumor is the fibroid. And what is its prevalence? Prevalence of the fibroid. Ovulation will not disturb, but only period will disturb. Okay, 20%, but this 20% is most commonly in a reproductive age group. A reproductive age group. So prevalence of the fibroid is the 20%, and mostly it happens in the reproductive age group. So what is that fibroid? Fibroid is a benign tumor arising from the smooth muscles of the uterus. Okay. So how can you define the fibroid? It is the benign tumor. You can define it. Benign tumor that is arising from, coming from smooth muscle of uterus. Smooth muscles of uterus mean, in the uterus there is only muscular layer, that is the myometrium. Myometrium. So this benign tumor is arising from the myometrium. Smooth muscles of the uterus mean myometrium. Simply you can call it leiomyoma. Okay, leiomyoma. Clear? Leiomyoma. Leomtom. Leiomyoma. Clear? But it is a misnomer. It is a fibroid. You can think it means, and then something is hidden its name. Maybe you can consider that is misnomer, that it is arising from the fibrous tissues. Okay. Fibroid means it is misnomer. Okay, misnomer. Sorry, it is misnomer. Why? Because from the word fibroid, you can think it is arising from the fibrous tissues. Fibrous tissues. but actually it is not arising from the fibrous tissues. Word fibroid, you can think that it is arising from the fibrous tissues, but actually it is not arising from the fibrous tissues. It is the commonest pelvic tumor, but it is also benign tumor. Prevalence is 20%, but this is the benign tumor that is arising from the smooth muscles of the uterus, that is the myometrium. It is not arising from the fibrous tissues. Okay, so it's a, in appearance it resembles the fibrous tissues, that is called as fibroma. So when you check it's, you look at there, very simple is that this is the myometrium, sorry, uterus, here is the myometrium. So it is arising from the myometrium, can come inside, it can come out, go outside, but actually its origin is the myometrium. So its appearance is like the fibrous tissues. Why it is called fibroid? Actually, its origin is myometrium, but its appearance is like the fibrous tissues. Okay, so therefore it is called as fibroid. Why it is called as fibroid? Because its appearance is like the fibrous tissues, therefore it is misnomer as the fibroid. Actually it is arising from the myometrium, so it is the benign tumor of the myometrium, therefore it is called as leiomtoma. Why? Because it is the benign tumor of the smooth muscles of the uterus. So when there is any benign tumor of the smooth muscle of the uterus, we call it leiomtoma. So what is its number in a single uterus? In a single uterus, how many fibroids can be present? So it's numbers. In a single uterus, there could be 1 to up to 125 fibroids can be present. How much? 1 up to 125. So it means these are very small in size. So total number of the fibroids that can be present in one uterus can be 1, 2, and up to 125 in a single uterus. So how it is pathogenesis? What is the pathogenesis? Actually, this fibroid is the estrogen dependent. Estrogen dependent. It means when estrogen level increases, then there could be a production of the benign tumor from the myometrium. It means it is most common into anovulatory, non-ovulatory uterus. You know, this is the ovary, here is the ovary and fallopian tube, and this is the uterus. So this is the non-ovulating. It will not ovulate. So what will happen? So what will happen? Actually, it will secrete multiple times the estrogen. Estrogen level will increase. When estrogen level will increase, it will affect on the myometrium, and myometrium will give the growth of the in the form of fibroids. Clear? So this growth is the estrogen dependent. Next one, risk factors. So what are the risk factors for the early menarche? Early menses and late menopause. What does it mean? Any uterus that has the early menarche and late menopause. First, I tell you, there are the two female. First female and second female. First female has the normal menses or menarche, and it has the early menarche. So in the first female, menses start at the age of 15 years and menses end at the age of 50 years. So it means what is the total duration of the estrogen release? It is about 35 years. So in the female one, the uterus is going to expose to the estrogen up to the 35 years of the age. So it means 35 years, uterus is going to expose to the estrogen. But in the female too, there is early menarche mean menses start at the age of 10 years and menopause occur at the age of 50 years. So how many years this uterus will expose to the estrogen? 40 years. So exposure time is more in the female second. Therefore, there's a prolonged exposure time to the estrogen and there are the chances for the menses. And same scenario can happen in the normal female. Menses start at the age of 15 years. Menses and menopause occur at the age of 50 years. In this same female, menses start at the age of 10 years, but menopause occurs not at the age of 50, at the age of 60 years. So then 10 up to 60, it means exposure time is 50 years. So early menses and late menopause. In both cases, when there is early menses, when there is a late menopause, in both cases, there is a more exposure time to the estrogen. So that can be a risk factor. So second risk factor, multiparity. Multiparity means multiple pregnancies. Female is going to become a multiple time pregnant, not a multiple pregnancy. It means female is going to become pregnancy this year, pregnancy next year, pregnancy next year. Every year, female is going to become pregnant. So pregnant female is exposed to the estrogen. Okay, I'm going to explain. Sorry. Question here is the not a multiparity, is a nulliparity. Sorry, nulliparity. Nulli mean no, parity mean pregnancy, not a multiple. Nulliparity mean female is never going to become a pregnant. Then what will happen? You know when the I am going to explain it. What is difference in multiparity, and nulliparity? When the female is going to become multiple time, when the female is going to become pregnant multiple time, that is called as multiparity. So this is the uterus, here is the ovary, here is the ovary. So consider this uterus is pregnant. So it means it is under the influence of progesterone. You know, pregnant uterus can continue the pregnancy under the influence of progesterone. So there is no estrogen because female is pregnant. But when you put this phenomena at this uterus, it is non-pregnant uterus, so no ovulation. All the time this uterus is exposed to the estrogen. There will be no progesterone. So all the time for prolonged exposure, there is a estrogen exposure. In a nulliparity, it means female who is never going to become a pregnant, all her duration, she is going to expose with the estrogen, and that estrogen can cause the growth of the benign tumor, that is the fibroid. Nulliparity. Clear? Not a multiparity. I am sorry for that. So next one risk factor is the hormone replacement therapy, or we can call it OCPs. You know, hormone replacement therapy or the oral contraceptive pills, they are the estrogen or the progesterone containing pills. Okay, next one is the obesity. You know what is that? In the obesity are the fat cells, and the fat cells are the aromatase. That aromatase is going to convert the androgen into the estrogen. Next one, due to the obesity, there could be a type 2 diabetes mellitus. Type 2 diabetes mellitus can be a risk factor. Last one is the race, white or the black. Which one race is most affected for the fibroid? It is common in the blacks. Common in black. But keep in mind, the adenomyosis is most common in the white, but fibroid is most common in the which one? Blacks. So what is that? Family history, it is a genetic defect. What is that? Family history. When you take the family history, so this fibroid is due to the genetic defect. And what is that genetic defect? That is the fumarate hydratase gene defect. What is that? Fumarase hydratase gene defect. Fumarase hydratase gene is defective. Which one gene is defective? Fumarate hydratase. So it means it can be present into the history or it can be a familial. So what are the risk factors for the fibroids? So risk factor for the fibroids are the, it can be happen up to the 1 to 25 years of the age, and also it can be in the early menarche, late menopause, and also it can be occur in the hormone replacement therapy or oral contraceptive pills. Obesity, due to obesity, fat cells are going to secrete the aromatase, and also due to obesity, the type 2 diabetes mellitus, and race is most common in the blacks, and also genetically it can be occur into the family or it can be a familial, and that is the fumarate hydratase deficiency. Clear? So inshallah, today on the request of the some students are not to take the class, but I have promised yesterday, so therefore I am going to take the class. I am going to touch you because you have enjoyed a lot. So from my side, happy Eid greetings